Is nasty to me? Michelle Obama.
Better. The question is, who's going to actually do something about this? So, par for the course, Donald Trump's plan is to give another massive tax cut to billionaires and big corporations. And
why didn't the Justice Department meet that Friday deadline?
Well, it's very simple and very clear. The statute also requires us to protect victims. And so the reason why we are still reviewing documents and still continuing our process is simply that, to protect victims. So the same individuals that are out there complaining about the lack of documents that were produced on Friday are the same individuals who apparently don't want us to protect victims. So we're going through a very methodical process with hundreds of lawyers looking at every single document.
In Barack Obama Destroys Donald Trump, every brutal roast that left Trump humiliated. You know, there's something absolutely fascinating about watching Barack Obama systematically dismantle Donald Trump's ego over the years. We're talking about some of the most devastating political roasts in modern American history. Moments that didn't just embarrass Trump, but actually changed the course of politics. And if you stick around, I'm going to walk you through every single one of these epic takedowns, because this story is wild. But before we dive in, if you're enjoying this content and want to stay updated on the latest political news and analysis, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications.
he was asked, what's your priority in your second term? And let me say, I've run for president in Miami, so I just want you to know it's a good idea to have an answer to this question. It's a good idea if you're running for re-election to say, here's what I want to accomplish. What did Trump say? He got mad and walked out of the interview. He thought the questions were too tough. Too tough? Miami, listen, if he can't answer a tough question like, what would you like to do in your second term? Then it's our job to make sure he doesn't get a second term. And that's why, over the next 10 days, we got to work hard to elect Joe Biden.
And making sure that victims' names and any of the information from victims is protected and
shut the front door. Protect the victims? That's Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche just pathologically lying there, and he's actually terrible at it. Look at his eyes blinking as he lies in front of millions of people on Meet the Press there. Hi, my name is Suri Crow, and you're watching the Midas Touch Network. Let me remind everyone that Blanche is second in command at the Department of Justice.
Dar, the night that changed everything. April 30th, 2011. We need to start with what many historians and political analysts now call one of the most consequential evenings in modern American politics, the 2011 White House Correspondents' Dinner. This wasn't just any roast. This was the night that reportedly lit a fire under Donald Trump that would eventually lead him straight to the White House. Here's the context. For weeks, Trump had been all over television leading what's called the birther movement. This conspiracy theory claiming Barack Obama wasn't actually born in the United States and therefore wasn't a legitimate president.
I had spent 8 years cleaning up the mess that the Republicans left me. I had spent 8 years getting the auto industry back on track, reopening factories. So when I handed over 75 straight months of job growth to Donald Trump, all he did was give a tax cut to people who didn't need it, drove up the deficits in the process. So don't have nostalgia for what his economy was, because that was mine.
They've had 30 days to produce these documents since the Epstein Transparency Act was passed and signed by the president. And Blanche is saying that DOJ lawyers are meticulously going through the files. So why did they expose this victim, who found her name unredacted in the December 19th dump? So the Trump DOJ had 30 days to go through all of these files, but couldn't get that straight?
Trump was relentless, appearing on every news show demanding Obama release his birth certificate, suggesting he was born in Kenya, questioning everything about Obama's background. It was getting so ridiculous that Obama finally had enough. Days before the correspondence dinner, he released his long-form birth certificate from Hawaii. But Obama wasn't done. Trump had been invited to the dinner as a guest of the Washington Post, and Obama saw his opportunity. What nobody in that room knew, and this is absolutely incredible, is that while Obama was preparing to roast Trump publicly, he had just authorized the raid that would kill Osama bin Laden the very next day.
So you've got a president who replaces career prosecutors with loyalists who will do his bidding, and now he's telling them to hand over millions of taxpayer dollars that he had to pay in expenses for previously violating the law.
And now they're claiming they can't get hundreds of thousands of documents that were required by the law to have been released on December 19th, that Friday. But magically, they were able to scrub nearly any mention of Trump's name from the files, despite the fact that he is not a victim and therefore not covered by the privacy privilege under the Epstein Transparency Act. Well, let me explain how that happened. Thanks to the tireless work of Bloomberg reporter Jason Leopold,
Obama was managing one of the most significant military operations in American history, while simultaneously preparing to humiliate his biggest critic on live television. So picture this scene. Trump is sitting in the audience in his tuxedo. Cameras trained on him, and Obama walks up to the podium, and he absolutely goes for it. Obama started with the birther issue. No one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing? What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac?
And President Biden and Vice President Harris were down there meeting with local officials and comforting families, asking how they could help. And Donald Trump at a rally just started making up stories about the Biden administration withholding aid from Republican areas and siphoning off aid to give to undocumented immigrants. Just made the stuff up. Everybody knew it wasn't true.
that the FBI paid nearly $1 million of our tax dollars in overtime to agents to redact the Epstein files. According to documents that Jason Leopold, that Bloomberg reporter, found, he sued the FBI and the DOJ for those files as part of a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act. And what those files indicated was that the agency, the FBI, had spent at least $851,000 and change the week of March 17th in 2025 in overtime pay for 934 agents.
You fired Gary Busey, and these are the kind of decisions that would keep me up at night. Well handled, sir. Well handled. Think about what Obama was doing here. He was basically saying, you think you're qualified to be president because you fired Gary Busey on a reality TV show? It was devastating, and the cameras kept cutting back to Trump's face, stone cold, jaw clenched, barely managing a tight smile. But wait, it gets even better. Obama then showed the audience a mock-up image of what the White House would look like if Trump became president. The image showed Trump White House Resort and Casino in gaudy gold letters plastered across the building.
People running this country who are stupid. They're stupid. How can I describe our leaders better than the word stupid? Really, right? There's no word. You know, I used to say grossly incompetent, but stupid.
A vicious rumor floating around that I think could really hurt Mitt Romney. I heard he passed universal health care when he was governor of Massachusetts. Someone should get to the bottom of that, and I know just the guy to do it, Donald Trump.
Who were mobilized to process and redact the Epstein files as part of a project called, hilariously, the Epstein Transparency Project. Snopes verified the records and went on to basically prove Bloomberg's reporting. And let me remind you, because I've also done some reporting on this subject, those FBI agents were reallocated from other important criminal investigations like terrorism, human trafficking, other criminal investigations. These are specially highly trained agents that were pulled off of their important investigative work to go combing through the files.
Now, if you thought Obama was done, you'd be wrong. After Obama finished, comedian Seth Meyers took the stage and absolutely piled on. Myers delivered line after devastating line. Donald Trump has been saying he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke. Donald Trump said recently he has a great relationship with the blacks, though unless the blacks are a family of white people, I bet he's mistaken. Gary Busey said recently that Donald Trump would make a great president. Of course, he said the same thing about an old rusty bird cage that he found. The entire room was laughing.
We've got a commander-in-chief who has fired decorated military officers because he thinks they might be more loyal to the Constitution than they are to him. Don't boo. He's deployed the National Guard in American cities and claimed to be stopping crime waves that don't actually exist. We got masked ICE agents pulling in unmarked vans and grabbing people off the streets, including U.S. citizens. Don't boo, vote.
Night and day, 24 hours a day to scrub Trump's name from the files. So in 1 week, at the taxpayers' expense, the FBI was able to scrub Trump's name out of these Epstein files. Yet in a month, Bondi and Blanche claimed that they need more time to release terabytes, massive amounts of information of files. But they were able to redact pages and pages and pages of other files.
Everyone except Trump, people who were there that night, including Graydon Carter, the former editor of Vanity Fair, and David Remnick from The New Yorker, said Trump looked absolutely steaming. One observer said there was a look of discomfort that came over his face, and he appeared to be getting angrier as the night went on. Here's where it gets really interesting. Roger Stone, one of Trump's top political advisors, later told PBS Frontline, "I think that is the night he resolves to run for president. I think that he is kind of motivated by it. Maybe I'll just run. Maybe I'll show them all." Omarosa Manigault, who worked on The Apprentice and later in Trump's White House, said she remembered thinking that night,
Even local Republicans said it was not true. And now the people of Florida are dealing with another devastating storm. And I want you to watch what happens over the next few days, just like the last time. You're going to have leaders who try to help, and then you have a guy who will just lie about it to score political points, and this has consequences. Because people are afraid and they've lost everything, and now they're trying to figure out, how do I apply for help?
This is insane. It is clearly a cover-up, and it is all a lie. Here is MAGA bootlicker and a man not to be trusted, Republican chair of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer.
Well, we've seen a lot of documents. What I think's not been accurately understood by most Americans is the Trump Department of Justice. They have released several thousand pages of documents. Now, what they've released in the last 30 minutes is another several 100,000 pages, some of which we may have already had, but we're going through them as we speak. It'll take several days to go through all of these documents, but this is what...
"Oh, Barack Obama is starting something that I don't know if he'll be able to finish." Trump, of course, publicly denied that the dinner had anything to do with his presidential run. He claimed he had a phenomenal time and was honored by Obama's jokes. But about Seth Meyers, Trump admitted that routine was too nasty, out of order. And years later, when Meyers tried to approach Trump at an event to shake hands and say he was a good sport, Trump basically told him he'd gone too far and refused to accept the olive branch. If you're getting value from this breakdown of political history, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow and lets me know you want more content like this.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems since he rode down his golden escalator 9 years ago. It has been a constant stream of gripes and grievances that's actually been getting worse now that he's afraid of losing to Kamala.
The American people wanted. This is what Congress overwhelmingly voted for, and I applaud the Trump administration for complying with this request and getting these documents so that everyone can lay eyes on them and judge for themselves who the bad guys are in this whole disastrous Epstein saga.
I mean, come on. He applauds the Trump administration. To quote Jordi Mycelis, "Don't piss on my face and tell me it's raining. The Republicans have been hiding Trump's tax returns, hiding his legitimate health records.
Fast forward to 2024, the crowd-sized roast. Okay, so we jump ahead 13 years to August 20th, 2024, at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Obama takes the stage to support Kamala Harris's presidential campaign, and he delivers what might be his most viral roast of Trump ever. Obama is talking about Trump's character, his constant complaining, and then he says this. Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems since he rode down his golden escalator 9 years ago.
We don't want kangaroo courts and trumped up charges. That's what happens in other places that we used to scold for doing that. We want like our court system and our Justice Department and our prosecutors to be, and our FBI to be just playing things straight and looking at the facts and not meddling in politics the way we've seen lately.
How many veterans and U.S. citizens have been swept up in these ICE Gestapo kidnappings and raids? They refuse to let prosecutor Jack Smith testify in public as he has asked to. They want to keep his testimony in the dark. To this Trump Epstein cloak and dagger saga. Why so afraid? James Comer and Jim Jordan. If you have nothing to hide, then why are you always hiding shit, huh?
What we're seeing here is a pattern. Barack Obama has consistently found ways to get under Donald Trump's skin like almost no one else can. From that devastating 2011 roast that many believe sparked Trump's presidential ambitions, to the viral DNC crowd-size moment, to the blistering criticism on the campaign trail, Obama knows exactly how to expose Trump's weaknesses. The irony is incredible.
Grabbing them on the suspicion that they don't look like real Americans. We've got Health and Human Services Secretary who opposes proven science and then peddles quack medicine. We've got a top White House aide who calls Democrats, the whole Democratic Party, domestic extremists.
Huh? This investigation covers more than just the Trump administration, by the way. It covers every administration and FBI that failed these little girls and women who covered up an international cabal of sex traffickers. We don't care if Democrats come out in the wash, too. We just want anyone who was involved in aiding and abetting or perpetrating acts against these little girls and women exposed and brought to justice. It is that simple. And yet Republicans are just colluding to cover up. And, you wonder why. Why would that be?
Obama's 2011 humiliation of Trump may have actually created the Trump presidency. But now, over a decade later, Obama is still out there using his sharp wit and rhetorical skills to remind everyone exactly who Donald Trump is. A thin-skinned narcissist who can't handle being mocked, who lies constantly, who cares only about himself, and who shouldn't be anywhere near power.
So, Wisconsin, we do not need to see what an older, loonier Donald Trump looks like with no guardrails. America's ready to turn the page. We are ready for a better story, Wisconsin. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris. And the good news is Kamala Harris is ready for the job. This is a leader who has spent her life fighting on behalf of people who need a voice and need a champion. Somebody who was raised in a middle-class family, who actually worked at McDonald's when she was in college to pay her expenses. Didn't just pretend like he worked at McDonald's when it was closed.
As somebody wrote, you don't redact hoaxes. If there's nothing to hide, you put sunshine on it. If the president is innocent, then he should just put it all out there. Imagine that the actual Department of Justice, once an entity of integrity and justice, is now complicit in covering up arguably the biggest scandal in presidential history. Yeah. And here's the gaslighting that we're seeing from the DOJ. President Trump's DOJ is delivering historic transparency while protecting victims. I can't even read that with a straight face. And look, Todd Blanche's stupid face. And then one after another, Trump officials just gaslighting the F out of the American people, from Pam Bondi to White House Spock's.
These roasts matter because they cut through all of Trump's bluster and bravado and expose the insecurity underneath. And that's why Trump reacts so strongly to them. That's why he can't let them go. This has been USA Press bringing you the real story. If you found this valuable, hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more political analysis. We'll see you in the next one.